Hi, welcome to the Business Class ESL Break Room. We're a company of passionate language trainers and coaches. We're here to share ideas to improve our skills and strengthen the training community. Come in for some inspiration, leave with tips to apply to your sessions today. Hi, and welcome to the ESL Break Room. If you've been to any English language training conference in recent years, chances are you've heard today's guest. Rob Howard is the Online Language Center and Business Language Training Institute owner and the founder of EFL Talks, which is dedicated to teachers helping teachers. But those are just a few of the hats that you wear, Rob, and welcome. You are a teacher, trainer, writer of business English materials, president of IETFL Poland, joint coordinator of IETFL BESIG, among many other hats that you wear. So we wanted to invite you here today just to share with us a little bit about your experience as a trainer, which is quite in depth, but also more broadly, your experience as a volunteer and what that has brought to you in your personal and professional development.
Well, thanks for having me, Sue.
Glad to have you.
And well, it's an interesting thing. I enjoy training. Most of my life, I've been training people. Back in the States, I was in business, so I was sales manager and different things. So I was always training people on how to do things. And, after teaching English for a while, first starting in Brazil, I realized that I actually had some good ideas that I wanted to start sharing. And I went to my first few conferences and gave some presentations, and then got a lot of feedback from people that were interested in learning more. So I started to do teacher training more and more. And I do a lot of webinars. I do a lot of talks, at conferences and workshops around, and do a lot of traveling. And I like it. It's fulfilling because I feel just like I learned, somebody who came before me was kind enough to share their expertise and their knowledge with me. And that's what made me into the professional I am today. And if I can pass the same thing on to other teachers in the future, so they can pass it on to other teachers in the future, then it just keeps going. So it's exciting.
Yeah, hence the Teacher Talks platform which you developed, which is really interesting. Do you want to share a little more about that?
Yeah, it was actually Shelley Terrell years ago had a 30-day challenge, and she was very popular online back in the days, and I did a lot of online things then. And she said, do something different to make it some kind of change in either in your teaching style, in your career, whatever. And so I thought what I could do, and this is actually a true story. I was thinking about a Pechakucha at the time, where things are done in 6 minutes and 20 seconds, I think it is, doing something fast. And I also thought about webinars, which we were doing online at the time, but not very effectively and not very efficiently, because things were running between an hour and an hour and a half, and just too long and too boring to get a little bit of information, I felt at the time. And so I thought about all these different things. And also TED Talks was just popular back then too. And I, believe it or not, I was juicing at the time and putting everything into a juicer, and jokingly had the idea of putting all these things together. And the joke came into my head, this is true blended learning. It really is true. And I had the idea of coming up with EFL Talks. And the idea that I thought of was doing short talks, because I thought teachers talk for way too long. And I thought that it was important to get to the point quickly, make it easy for people to get information, and reaching out to a network of friends to put together a webinar. And this idea, I came up with EFL Talks, and I called a friend of mine who was a teacher that used to work with me, and said, "What do you think of this idea? Do you think I'm crazy?" His answer was, "You're obviously crazy, but it's a great idea. You should go for it." And I put together, it was October 5th, I believe, 2015 was World Teachers Day. And I decided to put together 50 speakers. So I had to go out and get
a small number.
Yeah, well, come on, we're from Boston, it's like go big or go home, right?
It's that small.
Yeah. So I started off, I reached out, I got 50 people to commit to this, to do 10-minute talks on a nonstop webinar. So this went on for about 10 hours, pretty good first time out of the gate.
Seriously.
And I did a lot of promotion for it. We had a lot of big names. A lot of people surprised me and said yes. And we did the first one. And I was kind of disappointed because we only had a couple hundred viewers. And I thought, oh, I was expecting thousands. And I was a little obviously tired and bewildered after that. But I noticed after about a week, it had over 100,000 views. And what I realized at that point was making the recordings available was more important than the live event. So I continued this on with different themes, with different teacher associations. Sometimes we do a theme, like we did a young learners theme, we did a business English theme. And I ended up doing, I don't even remember the number. We've done close to 40 live events over the years, and we've got over 400 different EFL talkers. So people that did the recordings, and we have over 600 10-minute recordings, videos of different aspects of teacher training. So it was exciting. Then the pandemic came, and all of a sudden, everybody in the world had a webinar. And, now everybody's online doing webinars, doing this sort of stuff. So I slowed down with it a bit, and I usually only do a few a year. Now that everybody's hopefully getting back face to face, I may start it up again. But it was a good run, 7 years and 600 videos. I think I've done okay.
I think so. What a library, and what a resource for like young people starting out, or people who just want to.
And, this was the idea that I had behind it, is that, you and I are lucky that we do okay financially, and we're in a good location. We're able to go to these conferences and learn from other people. But when you think about the majority of the teachers in the world, they don't have the money. They can't get to these conferences. And I thought, how can we give them better training and, continuing professional development, which we always talk about. And I thought, this is it. They can watch the videos for free. All the videos are free access. They're available through the YouTube channel. And, they can watch them 10 minutes at a time. And I thought it was great because you could take like just one little thing. For instance, Gabriel Diaz, the IATEFL president right now, did 10 minutes on scaffolding. And if you need to find out anything, you can go through and look at them and either follow the themes or follow the speakers. And in just 10 minutes, you get basically a training course that you need instead of sitting listening for an hour and 90 minutes, which is too much. And I hate when I have to do these long talks. I have one coming up. It's 90 minutes. And quite frankly, I could have done it in 10.
It's a very interesting point you raise because, well, first of all, thank you for doing that for all of those people out there, because what a resource without having to sign up, get on the mailing list, and then get all the emails. It sounds like it's really very generously donated. But maybe we could talk just a minute. What's your opinion of the decrease, the shrinking of the time, the attention span we all have, and that's impact on the language training room?
I'm sorry, I wasn't listening. What no, yeah, well, this is going to happen, and it's been happening all our lives. Well, because we grew up in the same area, I know roughly. I thought you were 18, but you told me you're older. We grew up because we didn't have any of these tools when we were kids. So the big thing was, oh, they have television, and television is going to kill their brain and take their time away from studying. And now you look at, the kids are growing up first with the computers in the house, now with the cell phone. I think I saw the other day, average person spends like 5 hours a day on the cell phone. So we have less time to do anything. When I was, 17, 16, 17, I had the whole day to read a whole book.
Mm.
It's very hard for me to sit down and read a book in a year now because of, the amount of things that happen. And this, we'll talk about volunteering a little bit. This is affecting that. Is the funny thing is, the more tools that we get to make our lives easier, the less time we have to actually do anything.
Yeah.
And, I think that's why I thought shortening this to 10-minute, bite-sized chunks, if you want, would make it much easier and hold people's attention for a lot shorter, because it is tough. And I've been to many talks. Hopefully this talk isn't one of them. That 5 minutes in, you're like, okay, I got the point, and why are you still talking?
Right. Well, that's great. If you can go to EFL Talks, you say, okay, I really need to know about this or that, and just hone in on it, and then get right back into your busy schedule. That's great.
That's it.
So, thank you for that. And then also, because you are so well versed in the whole volunteer world, like maybe our audience, a lot of us are business trainers, we're busy, personal lives, etc. But there is something to be said for taking that extra step and volunteering. What would you share with anyone who's never gotten involved?
Well, get involved, get off your butt, stop making excuses, and give back. I'm a firm believer in, giving back to whatever it is, community, society, whatever. And if everybody just did a little bit, and I sound like a commercial, it would be so much better. And, I started off, when I was in Brazil, I was part of Braz Tisol. I started a BSIG there. And then I got involved with the IATEFL BSIG, with the online and the website, and then took over as joint coordinator. And, it's a lot of extra work. I'll tell you honestly, it is a lot of work. And, you saw my schedule that I showed you.
Yeah.
But you know what? It's fulfilling at the end of the day when you know that you've reached people, you've been able to help people, and all it cost you is time that you probably would have spent in front of a TV watching Netflix. There's so much that we can do, sharing our knowledge and everything else. I think if everybody in the world would volunteer just a couple hours of their time a week, what a different world we would have. And The problem that I see lately is the commitment that people make to volunteerism is dying. It's harder and harder to get people to step up and help. And I'll put you on the spot later. You have to step up and help. And, I just like it. It does, like I say, take a lot of time. You'll hear me every so often complaining, but it's really well worth it. And that's why I have one more year with the BSIG.
Mhm.
And as you said, they reached out from IATEFL Poland, and I'm currently vice president, and I'll be president next year. And I just wanted to take the talent that I have, which is business and organization, and help out with any way I could in a teacher association, giving back to teachers. So that's it. Step up, everybody.
It's a great thought for 2023. And just to go step back from that, though, I know some people and some trainers who are like, I'm so busy, I don't even have time to attend a conference. We can not even talk about volunteering, but attending. What do you think you get when you actually go and just even?
I thought you were going to ask, what do you think of those people? I was going to say they're liars, because there's always time. You make time. Now it's so going to the conferences, being face to face, there's nothing like it. We just had the BSIG conference here in Gdansk, 2 months ago. I guess it's been, and it was the first face-to-face conference back since we had Berlin back in 2019 before COVID. Now in 2020 and 2021, we had the conferences online, and yeah, they were great. We did a great job with it, but people missed that feeling of community and that feeling of family and getting together. And there's a lot to be said about that. If you want to be a teacher and just be your own little island and be a little freelancer, or maybe go to the teacher's room and that's it, that's fine. But if you're looking to really become part of a community, the best way to do it is you go to a conference, meet people, like-minded people. And, the greatest thing I think with BSIG is we're not just a community of practice, we're a family of teachers. And, the sharing, the camaraderie, the fun we have, it's just amazing. And the only way you get this is at a face-to-face conference when you're together. And unfortunately, I see the new trend. Everybody's complaining about, carbon footprint and, saving the world, which I won't talk about. But, if you look at the airline problems we've had, the problems we're having with economics here in Europe right now, people are afraid of the pandemic and everything else, the cost of things. Unfortunately, I don't think the future is very good for teacher associations and for face-to-face conferences. And everybody's jumping into hybrid and online because it's quick and easy.
Yeah.
Two problems with that. Everybody says, oh, I'm going to watch that online conference. Yes. Then they're too busy. They don't go. They say, but I'll watch the recording, and they never do.
Yeah.
So number one, gone. Guilty?
Completely. Yeah.
So am I. I sign up for a lot of them, and just things happen and they just build up, and you can't keep up. But that's number one. That's one of the problems with going online. Number two, we're going to lose that face-to-face camaraderie and friendship. And it's just so important. They're shrinking. I get the numbers from everybody that I can for conferences around the world, teacher conferences. And right now, I would say we're getting half the turnout of what we got before COVID. And that's scary because for a lot of conferences, I went to a conference that used to have online, actually. I was online because I couldn't make it there. It was across the world, but they used to have between 500 and 1,000 people back in the day.
Yeah.
They were 40 in a combination of online and face-to-face. Now, to put on a conference is very expensive.
Yeah.
You know, and to not have people come, it's really a shame. And, you know, this is what scares me. Now you add to it with everything with AI and what's going to happen with teachers, what's going to happen with publishers. And, you know, the world's in for a big change.
Yeah, we're really on the cusp of big change. But in this profession, it is a particularly giving profession. I think the people drawn to it are. So it really would be.
Yep.
It's very enriching to actually get out there and meet others. And
well, that's it. You know, well, you and I have met online, and you and I have talked online, even though we lived probably 15 minutes away from each other for X amount of years. No, but we've met online, and that's good. You know, you build a relationship online. I have many friends that, you know, I've known now for 20 years online.
Wow.
Never had the chance to meet. And then the experience, actually going back, it's been 40 years. I met a guy online by accident in a chat room back with ICQ. Do you remember ICQ? I was waiting to talk to somebody. He sent me a random message. We started talking. I was in the States at the time. He was in Sweden. And, you know, we've been talking all the time for 40 years. Now, a few years ago, I happened to be in Rome, and he was following my Facebook. And he said, "Where are you?" And I told him where. And he said, "I'm around the corner. I'll be right there." And after like 40 years, we met face to face.
Wow.
And there's something great about that. And the relationship, even though we spent maybe 5 hours together, the relationship changed. So going back to online, it was a different relationship. So you need this face-to-face connection with colleagues, especially if you're one of those teachers that's a freelancer, that you're sitting in your chair in your office or your bedroom or your kitchen, and you're giving classes all day. It's not enough. You need community. And this is why going to these conferences is so important. Anybody listening, I really encourage you, your next teacher association conference that you have locally, go. I know for you, did you go to TESOL France?
My colleagues did. I wasn't able to make it. My colleagues absolutely did. Yeah. And we had some of our freelancers as well. And it was exactly why I'm doing this podcast and why we schedule regular trainer meetups now that we can back in Paris, but online as well, because the feedback is we like to see each other. We want to talk to each other. And they loved it. We met in Paris a month or two ago, and everyone just sat around, had tea or coffee in the morning on a Sunday morning, and they were delighted. And it was important somehow, you know.
It's great. And, you know, I think we're looking at, you know, even though I talk about this in my one-to-one book, that you can still build a relationship and a bond with a student one-to-one. I don't think it's necessary to meet your students face to face to be able to teach a class. But I think when you're talking about peers and working with peers, I think this is important. And, you know, in an age where we're looking at multinational companies and people are working together, there's nothing like knowing that you met that person 5 years ago, shook hands, everything else. And it's really important, I think, for our sanity, you know.
Yeah, bottom line connection. There you go. Well, Rob, thank you so much for sharing your experience with us and inspiring, I hope, some of us to get out to our next
Yep,
conference or maybe IATEFL, who knows?
good.
And
Well, you have plenty of opportunities depending on where you are. Of course, we have IATEFLs coming up in April
mhm,
in Harrogate, but there's a lot of other things. There's IATEFL Poland, where I am, will be in September. We'll
mhm,
be talking about that soon. The BSIG conference and the TESOL France conference are both in November. I
mhm.
believe you're 17th and 18th of November. And I believe we're the following weekend somewhere in Europe. We'll announce
Excellent.
soon. But
Excellent.
start saving for this stuff and make an effort to go to these conferences.
All righty. Well, thank you very much, Rob, and we'll look forward to hearing more from you in the future when that book is published.
Great. Yeah, I'll come back and tell you all about the book, which will be
Excellent.
available soon.
All righty. Thank you very much.
Great. Thanks.
Thanks for joining us in the Business Class ESL Break Room, the podcast designed to bring business English trainers useful ideas, inspiration, and conversation that motivates. Follow us on Instagram at business_class_language and subscribe to the ESL Break Room playlist on Spotify, Deezer, or Apple Music for new episodes. See you next time.